Hey guys, welcome back to another Play and Explain. Playing 6 tables of GG500 right now during happy hour. The games are pretty ricky. Anyone tagged light blue as a fish. Everyone else tags are pretty much irrelevant. Should read about 1/3 on the flop. Just gonna check now. I don't mind, you can do either, but usually I will say the small blind continuing range here is pretty strong. And versus this, I just don't think people have enough bluffs in the spot, so I'm gonna fold, particularly this player as well. It's a spot in theory, like we probably have to call sometimes. We're blocking his best ace with ace jack and stuff like this. We're unblocking the lower pairs that he might turn into a bluff because we're gonna river a lot of king x is played, so he might. We're unblocking, so I don't mind calling that hand if you were to bluff catch, but it's not a spot where I really feel like I want to bluff catch that player too often. It's just not gonna have enough bluffs given how much ace x he potentially could have. So it just the EV of bluff catching goes way down. Even though I will say it's a pretty profitable spot for him to bluff. So, yeah. So he could be explaining me there. Gonna try and talk about each hand individually. King 7, but with the recreation on the big blind, I will open it. I'm not sure exactly what the breakoff is for the offsuit King X, but I think it's around King 8. I think this hand might mix. I could be wrong though, so don't pay too much attention. I would recommend just go looking for it yourselves. Here with like double terrible suit, not a good texture for us. Just gonna check it back. Basically no equity with our hand. It's not a board we're going to be c-betting at a high frequency, so you don't need to take garbage hands. Like there's some boards where you c-bet very high frequency and you need to start getting really weird with certain combos. Like obviously there's some properties that are okay about this hand. For example, folding out better king x when you bet. It's not the worst thing. And here we're just going to, when he checks twice, it's not a card we're perceived to going to be c-betting a lot on. So he's pretty capped when he checks. Like if it was an ace, you need to be a little more careful not to over c-bet, because then you can just start trapping everything. Because you're going to be over c-betting turns, so why would he even lead? It's like if you know your opponent's going to bet 100%, why would you have a leading line? You can just pure check raise it and probably make more money. Or if the turn was a king, for example, probably would check back that hand. But being a 7, I expect him to lead his stronger hands most of the time. I think in theory he's also supposed to. As most of our range that check back turn is going to miss again. Or check back flop. On a 62, just going to call this basically just pure call. Actually super deep, but mainly just going to be calling this hand. Versus the 1/3 here, can do a lot of things. Not blocking ace 9 of hearts is not the greatest though. I'm just trying to think. I'm just going to mainly be calling. On a 24, I can't see this raising often. I'm trying to think if there's an exploit here to be had. Because it's not a type of board where he's supposed to be c-betting a lot, especially at this stacked up. But I think he knows that. I expect the c-betting range. Generally, when people build a checking range and a c-betting range, their c-betting range ends up a little too strong. Gonna check this one back though, without a club or anything. 8 or a 6. There's no added equity into the hands. Gonna check. Pretty good river. This hand is definitely gonna be a value bet on the river. Yeah. And it's a call. Nice. I don't know why he's just... I mean, it's an okay hand to bet on the flop. Well, I'm just going to bet 1/3 here versus the fish. I'm super disconnected. Not to mention this hand is probably one of the more preferred. It's not like I have a king. And I'm going to go super polar here. The issue is this on a non-heart. We're probably supposed to jam this hand, and I don't really feel like it. So... probably could just exploitively size a little further down versus the fish. Yeah, I kind of regret my sizing now. In theory, I think this is the size he would go. He's going to have a tough time defending with it. He's going to be raising some of his 2 pair on the flop. Okay. Just going to defend this. I don't think you're 3-betting this at a frequency as a bluff, mainly versus the early positions where that might get in there. Just going to bet again here. He's getting a lot of like 5-7s type hands that he would have floated. 8-7. Jack 6 I think is just a pure call. I don't think it's bad enough to 3-bet. Due to like, you don't want to 3-bet fold this. You'd rather just take Jack 3, Jack deuce, and then you would like the bottom. I know Jack 8 is the cutoff where you start 3-bet calling it versus a 4-bet, assuming your opponent sizes down. Here when we're checked too, I'm just gonna 3-bet this on a 97 versus a fish. don't know what his PFR is, but his VP 30, so I'm gonna check. Here versus the fish, I'm gonna check here. You guys might be a bit confused, but because you could range bet this, but I don't mind giving him a chance to bluff and spaz out. Our hand's not very good, so I'm just gonna fold here on a 7. Super deep, you're gonna also want to check a little more in theory. I'm gonna open this when there's a fish in the big. Gonna be calling here. Don't expect to be really behind, but he has hands like King 10 and stuff. I don't expect him to be betting too much Jack X on the turn here for the block sizing. I mean, maybe he's protecting it. We'll see how his turn size is. It scares me a little bit more, but I think I'm gonna call one more and fold river. Oh, it's a perfect river, jeez. So the question here is, do we just shove and try and get called by a jack? Or do we try and keep in bluffs? Now that I'm tanking this long, I expect him to go less than for value. I feel like I've given off the timing tail of the fish, so I'm going to shove here and hope he calls a jack and puts me on like a flush draw or some bullshit or something. I don't know. He's pretty capped because he's probably not B75ing like King X on the turn in theory, so I don't see the point in really having a checking range here. Oh, good thing I jammed. Okay, so here we have the straight with the flush draw and a check line. I'm blocking the types of hands that he'd want to bluff with. He's more likely to bet these like 9x hands when he has a heart. But also we don't want to price 9x out. But I'm going to go with the overbet here. It's really easy for him to have a lot of hands that hit 2 pair or something. I don't know. I don't mind going check raise with this hand. Not a lot of bad rivers for it, so basically 0 where it doesn't remain the nuts in a check line. It's only in like a check raise line where you can get counterfeited. I don't think he's gonna check a hand that can boat up. Gonna be calling the 10-0 pure. Yeah, it's a pure call in theory, or it's on a. It sometimes jams on a 14. It's never jamming, and especially on GGPoker where you have like that slight increased EV from the bad beat jackpot. I don't know how much the EV actually is, but when your opponent has, the fact that when you're beat you have a little bit of added extra equity, that's kind of nice. First this, you can do jam or call. I don't mind jam. On a 77. The issue is there's no bluffs. I don't expect him to call me too much with wares. I'm just gonna call. That's kind of the issue. That's like what jamming has benefits. You fold out some of these ace jack type hands. Because now if he shoves, I just want to fold. Let me read this note. 3 bets jacks, cut off versus 5 bet shoves. Oh, he's just a psychopath pre-flop. He checks on the jack. I think you can do a lot of B20 here. This is too small. I messed up. I mistyped. I was trying to type 15 big blinds. I don't see the point in sizing up, as he's like pretty polar. We kind of price ace king in. I think he's like less likely to bluff in this way. I really don't think he's bluffing now. Let me think I'm gonna fold. You guys might call me crazy, but I don't know. I might have got exploited there. My hand's definitely not a fold in theory, but I just don't think people are like I think he's more likely to see bet his clubs on the turn himself than check them. And I think people don't really like doing this with like ace queen and ace king, like regs at least. They really don't like taking those lines. They just assume you're gonna call them. Like he would probably like, I don't know. I don't see him wailing out versus it. I really don't. Maybe he did. He got me off a hand, but I mean it's basically aces that mainly people will take those lines with, but I don't know. I made the wrong play in theory. I made an exploitative play. I think jamming the flop on a 77 is probably the best play, if I had to guess. On this number, we will be 3-betting this. Alright, so we flop top pair, so this is going to be between big bet or check. When we have the BFD, I have to think about this. Okay, so when we have the backdoor flush draw with our king X, I'll go for the check. He has 5s and 6s at a high frequency in his line. So it's going to be his board. I don't mind the idea of check raise, as he's going to have a lot of these low pocket pairs that he might like hero call off or something. I mean, we're dead versus set. I think we're getting stacked. I don't mind the idea of just maybe he has hand like 10-9. Go for the all-in. Is he tanking? Almost every bad turn card out of position is going to be bad for this hand. I don't mind trapping some of the hands like aces or something. The issue with a hand like this is I think the hands I expect him to have, I don't expect to get much more value from. Alright, sick. And there's obviously the advantage of that. First one pretty good start. We hit a flush. Sick. I'm here just going to be calling. That's the issue playing your hand the way he did. You're never supposed to call here, and that's why. Even if you 3-bet a hand like Jack 10 suited, even if you flat a hand like Jack 10 suited, you're just supposed to fold it there. You're supposed to have some traps, but for the most part, you should be folding like 90% when you flat the button. That's the main reason you flat the button versus under the gun, but not versus cutoff. Part of the reason is due to the fact that so here we could do either. The thing is, our hand's probably good enough to get value. So even though we have the flush draw properties, like we could just check back ace 9, ace 7, like ace 8 of diamonds. We still have these types of hands we can get value from. I'm gonna have to call. It's probably just ace king. Yeah, that's the advantage of checking back, obviously. He's never supposed to check this hand in theory, though. I think could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to check this hand. I should have sized up bigger here. I messed up. Gonna fold here. Gonna ask to run it twice. Oh. Unfortunate. So if you know your opponent's pure checking stuff like this, just you don't need to c-bet. I mean, it's just a fish strategy. I mean, I could be... Okay, I'm being a little aggressive, but... It's just... I'm not really supposed to reopen hands... like that wide. Like, it's just realistically, like, I'm not gonna be... Most of my bluffs, I'm just gonna... The king blocks bluffs, I guess what I'm trying to say as well. It really doesn't make sense, I think. I don't know, I could be wrong. Maybe you check at a frequency with that. I think a lot of my flush draws are not going to reopen because they're afraid of getting shoved on, so... I'll call here, you could do both. This hand, let's see if I'm a clown, because I was kind of flaming my opponent in this one. In this range, your opponent's checking like 51% of the time when I split between the two sizings. So I'm going to run this one, and then I'm going to run where my opponent range bets. He's betting 33, checking the most when you have... It appears to be the king of diamonds, right? Or just a diamond in general. Moving on to the turn. We're going to be raising flop, obviously. Oh, I have a full frequency. Let's normalize height. Have ace king in a frequency there in position. Turn here, he's actually only barreling through when he has the king of diamonds. I guess I was kind of wrong with the assumption that we're not bluffing hands with the king of spades. It looks like we're actually... I mean, sorry, we're not, yeah. He unblocks bluffs when he has the king of spades. We're actually going to be betting king of spades the least, so I guess in theory that's why you want to check this one more often, but that's why you should bluff king more. Anyway, checks more often with his hand. His hand's one of like the higher frequency checks, so in this specific note, definitely wrong. So you can see here, reopening ace-jack around half the time. I had to read that he was probably not checking it as disciplined as he could be. And then on the river, I meant his hand's almost pure shoving when he checks because, yeah, we have a lot of random diamond X hands. And this one calling, this one folding, calling two pair and stuff like this. Even with the range bet, he's still mixing in checks with his hand. So, and when we're checked, he's finding shoving in a really high frequency. So it turns out I'm just pretty much an idiot. And this note is what I'm getting at. One thing I thought was interesting is you're raising the flop at a really high frequency when your opponent's actually range betting into you. But anyway, yeah, so takeaway from this hand is my opponent played really well, and I'm going to do both. Here on a 22, I'll just call. Good board for me. He never has any of these pairs. The run it's going to be worse. He's never even really supposed to have eights. So he should be checking as he does. It's okay card for me. The ace not being a club doesn't make me want to build a leading range on it though. Oh, that sucks. I'll just check again, and if he bets, I'll probably just go all in or something. I don't know. I don't expect him to have a good hand though. I'll check this one back now. I mean, you could turn this hand into a mergy strategy, but I think you benefit more from checking and an ace coming off. It sucks when a jack comes off, because if he had a hand like ace jack that he floated with the backdoor flush draw. I'm just gonna check here. Ace queen suited, ace 5 suited. I'm gonna fold here. I'm so tilted about this ace king hand, like, it's just so stupid. Like, if I don't have ace jack of diamonds, I would not reopen. You're just really not supposed to check it too often. I mean, it looks like haha, like you got me, but I mean, my hand's getting stacked in any way he plays the hand. My hand's supposed to get stacked. Just unfortunate. For what it's worth, I'm not sure about the mistake. I would be lying if I say I look at the spot a lot, but I just know in general when you have ace king, it's mainly on these king high textures though, but like you're usually playing it pretty linearly. You get a little tricky with the other stuff, 2-pair and stuff like this, where you block a lot more of your opponent's calling range. Like if you're gonna stack off versus ace king, wouldn't it be better, like in theory, just to? I'm just gonna get this all in here. If he has 7s or 5s or anything, nice hand. But my hand's just too good, and it's too vulnerable to bother seeing turn cards. It's unfortunate. We'll run it twice. Maybe we bingo. On an 80, I think you can... Actually, I think this hand's mostly calling now, so I'll call it this time. Oh, we hit an ace. That's so sad. Alright. Sometimes they bingo. That's like the third pot today I've lost to a 3-bet pot on this. To a set. Poker's pretty easy when that happens, I guess. We'll go with the 1/3 here. He's flatting like 50% of his hands. Okay, so he goes to the big bet. So we have 2 choices here. We can raise our hand, which is an okay strategy. I mean, we block 10-9. On a 3 though, I just think it's gonna mostly be a fold. Oh, would have been sick, wouldn't it? Oh. That would have been sick. He calls with like queen 9. Alright, here we bet ones. Having the heart's obviously good, but I think in general we're just gonna get called by too many stronger hands when we bet here. Actually, I don't mind just barreling through. We're supposed to bet this a lot. He has to call some ace high and stuff. Yeah, in theory we're valuing ourselves, but in reality this hand also needs protection. You could still call by all pairs technically, right? Like 7s, 6s. In reality, if he has too many, most people over defend those hands, so they're gonna have slightly too many of them. Ace deuce, you can do either. On a 68 though, it'll open. Been building a bit of a limping range on GG due to like how most hands in you play blind versus blind are not eligible for the bad beat jackpot. So it's kind of nice to keep your pots, play majority of your pots under 30 big blinds. You pay net less rake that you don't get accounted for because it doesn't count as like actual rake. I think 94. This hand's still pure fold with the rakes. Being a pure reg table, I'm not gonna deviate. I don't know if this is low enough to limp it. I could be a little wrong. Generally, when you're playing the offsuit version of a hand, and checking range on this flop, gonna be defending the calling range here because we're gonna have to continue wide. So you're not also like you're check raising aggressively because you have your entire range, but you're also not check raising aggressively enough where like You don't have decent calls. He just instantly goes for the B75. I think this hand just calls. I don't see the need to jam it. We'd be jamming more so in our flush draw range would be like 7 and 8x we have with the heart. Ace 7 of hearts, ace 8 of hearts, blocking 8-7, which is going to snap call. This just screams he was just wailing and hit a jack. Or he had like a 6 on the flop. I mean, we have other hands to turn the bluffs here, but like this is close to the bottom of the range. We blocked 2 pair. I'm just gonna go for it. I took too long though. I feel like I gave up a timing tell. I don't expect 2 pair to be too relevant though. Actually, if anything, we block some of this folding range if he's B50. You block some like river 2 pair with a king 5. I don't know. It's probably a bad bluff. Okay, so he's just wailing on the flop and hits a king and then takes 20 years to call for some reason. I don't know. Let's look at this flop C bet. 9 of diamonds has to be bad as well. I don't know. I don't like it. I mean, you could just argue it's overfolded, so you can just wail out, but I don't know. It's probably okay. He folded some better king X with that size. I don't think C betting any hand is going to cost you that much EV on the flop. So I can't really flame a flop C bet in a spot where like you're going to have a lot of value. Like, for some players, C-betting range for B75, they would probably make money because they're probably playing too much of a B. Like they're probably playing a flop raising range. Like they're probably playing a C-betting range. I guess is what I meant to say. They're not checking their range, meaning that when they check, they're gonna have way too weak of a range, and you can just run them over on most runouts as well. Overbetter check here. Here with like the worst hand possible. I can't imagine we do anything but check this one. Generally, when you check now and the jack comes off, we're going to be playing an overbetter check range again. Some B33 as well. But in general, if you have a weaker ace X, you don't mind checking it again on this card. Gonna go with the overbet, and I am going to follow through with this hand. Okay, if you think about the bluffs here, it's obviously going to be mainly in this 10-9 region. 10-9, 9-8. I have to check back at a frequency, and we hit a 10. Trying to think what our range is. How many bluffs we actually have now? We don't have that many. He should probably consider a leading range in a way, even though we have a 10x advantage. I mean, we're gonna have a lot of he does, and obviously there's no point in calling. Small leading range, raising range. I don't mind the idea of bluffs here. Bluffs would obviously just you would have to take 9-8. You would have to take your lower clubs, like maybe 3 deuce of clubs or something. Not you wouldn't have 3 deuce, but 6-5 of clubs or something. He just has a 10. Yeah. Kind of obvious. Like the thing is, I wouldn't really bluff the spot too often because people are just pretty nitty when they lead B33 on a river. Like he probably just expects me to call him. Like, it's really hard for people to expect you to fold. Like let's say I have 2 pair here. Am I really folding? I don't like leading for bet 33 for that reason. It's like it only makes sense if you're gonna have weaker hands. Like I'm so polar on the turn. It's like okay, I have 8s and 9. You might get me off. Yeah, I call all 2 pair. But then it's like why don't you size up? It's like, oh, I get a free 33%. I don't know. Of the pot. You can size up here. It doesn't make sense. Like, you know, it's really hard to, what I'm saying is, like, it's really hard to bluff the spot when you're betting B33 on the river. You almost generate more value from checking and getting bluffed into. I don't mind leading, though. I could be wrong about that as well. Like, I'm always spitballing my opinions. For hands like this, I'll try and put the solver in the middle of the video, so you guys can see if I was right or wrong. Here we flatted from the recreational super deep. He has like no 3-bet, so like he probably would 3-bet queens, I guess. So we probably have the best overpair on the flop. Not the best flop for a range. Pardon me. Still gonna bet though. If I get raised, I'll probably just fold. I don't like the edge of checking with the hand. I would probably check aces here, but multi-way, 4 ways. There's really no logic behind that much stuff, as everyone's kind of spitballing. I just can't imagine jacks makes more money by checking flop here. Gonna check now though. And here on a 79 can 3-bet. It's pretty much 3-bet or fold. So I'm in 4-bet. Might be too loose. I don't know. 79 is pretty high, so we'll go for it. Been under 4-betting the spot recently anyway, so I think like I've missed some spots. Definitely gonna call the half pot. And hope my opponent is a set. Everyone just has it all the time. Okay, if he pots it, I'll probably just toss. Where's half pot? Just gonna call. Oh my god. And if the flop came reversed, I could have made a lot of money. Insane perspective. So I kind of lied about the start of hand. I said he doesn't have an overpair. Guess I was wrong. Here versus the 1/3. Could do either. Probably just mainly calling this hand. Seems too weak to polarize yourself to a calling range. Like the idea of like raising 8s here for protection, but like when they call, they always have a better hand. Probably not a good idea, given that you just don't have very many ways for your hand to improve. It's not like I have bottom pair where I have like 5 outs. I have 2 outs. So yeah, gonna check. Also block the types of hands you might want to get value from. Not really actually. I don't really block over pairs, over cards. There's not too many 8x that would be calling. I mean, this has got to be one of the worst hands we have on the flop. We do block his folding range. When he tanks, I don't like it. We do block his folding range. But it's just a turn he's going to be checking really nittily. Like, really nitty. Okay. Congrats, man. I don't know. This is just like King Jack. The sick part is I just lose to his bluff, so I can't even do anything. If I was reopening a 10 there, for value. On a 45, I think this is still good enough. Oh, I sized down. Oops. I think it does it around 60% of the time. 3 bets, that is. Ace of diamonds. I think we just go with the 1/3 here. You can probably, there's probably like arguments doing a lot of stuff. It's just really hard for us to miss this board. So. I don't see too many hands that care about checking back. Not the greatest turn for us. Obviously prefer to have the ace of spades. Ace of diamonds is better than ace of hearts, but I think we're going to be checking back this. I don't mind betting because I think it's overfolded. But I'll check. Not having a pair here doesn't make me want to jam. He does have not that many. On a 20, just gonna fold. Easy fold from here from me. Not a good river because a lot of our spade hands are gonna be following through on this card. I'm just gonna call here on a 61. I'm just gonna go for the lead here. It's checking back range. It's usually pretty capped, so you can see a bit small. Mind grimming him? I'll just leave him my. Okay, here this deep. I'm gonna play a big pot. Supposed to call off versus a jam. Theory, I don't know how nitty people are. Heads up, jamming. This deep. Probably should go even bigger. I don't mind it. We can do either here. There's a lot of hands we can get value from with our hand. He's not really 3-betting 7s and 4s. I mean, 4s and deuces. So he kind of misses this board pretty hard. You can get called by worse betting half pot here for sure. I'm gonna check back here again. And then bluff river. You're gonna have a lot of hands that improve in equity on the king. Granted, like some of them might bet flop, so you're gonna have like hands like queen jack here and stuff like this. A lot of ace x you don't mind stabbing now. But hands that can't really improve in equity. I don't really feel like that. I feel like they're better off bluffing river. And because of the nature of the flop, when we check, we almost never have a 7. We have to be very passive when we c-bet again. Otherwise, you can just start checking all of his 7x. And if we're over c-betting, he's just going to make way more money than leading. And sometimes in poker, the point is to make your opponents indifferent. Gonna be defending this on a 91. Gonna be leaving this next hand. And gonna just be calling the big bet. You can do either here. Gonna be leading on this card though. It's a better card for us. So here we can do either. We block bluffs with the 7 of hearts. This player's a bit of a calling station, so I'm gonna size up here. Target like his ace-x hands. If we get shoved down, we just have to call, even though I don't think the spot's bluffed. Alright, let me change my layout. If you're curious about the program I use, the link will be in the description. We'll do this layout. My overlays. As you can see now, we're at 4 tables. How long have I been recording? 29 minutes. I'll record for a little bit longer. Probably some stuff I'll have to cut out, maybe, in the video. Probably record for 35 and then start up the second recording. Not much going on in here. $10-4 is going to be a call. It's sometimes 3 bets, but on a 10, we're just going to mainly call it. Sorry, I'm a bit out of it, I was thinking. I don't like having the 10 here. I think it's going to be a decent amount of his folding range here, so I'm just going to check. I don't know. I think with the backdoor flush draw, you don't mind, but I don't think he's going to be folding out better backdoor flush draws. Like, I don't think he's going to be folding out queen 6 of diamonds, no matter what size I bet. Or, like, maybe, like, queen 8 of diamonds. I don't know. And I'm going to be folding it here. Obviously, we have a pretty good hand to see bet here. And people kind of overfold when they check, because they play a little bit too much of a leading range. So, in theory, I don't mind. I'm trying to think. In practice, I don't mind. In theory, I don't know. Let us see what's going on here. Opponent's tanking for 20 years. And board we're gonna be checking back pretty high frequency. If you do bet on this board, the thing is from the button you do have all the sets. So it's not that bad of a board for you. The thing is with this hand, we just don't care. Like, why would we want to fold out Jack 10? Wouldn't it be so funny if he just has Jack 10? I think here when you reopen, if you over c-bet for a big sizing, I think I'm going with the B33 here. The board is pretty wet, so you could size up. The thing is, it's kind of the idea of, yeah. Like when you check back flop, you do kind of cap yourself. So at the same time, he's gonna have a lot of traps on this turn. In theory, just due to the nature of how much I'm gonna be c-betting this jack. Like, if I'm always c-betting a jack pure, which I kind of want to on this board because of how wet it is. Like at a higher frequency than I would on a drier texture. Like, let's say it was like jack, I don't know, even if it was a little jar 6-3 deuce or something. Yeah. He can start checking a lot of his strong hands and raising me. And the way to combat that is mainly to size down on that turn. Because he's going to have a lot of snap folds. regardless of what you bet when he checks twice. And the easier way to punish that is just to bet 33. Not to mention in that position, I feel like you gain more from seeing a river. Given that the board is low, you're going to have a lot more overs to it. Could be yapping. I could be thinking of another type of line. Because I know that's a thing on a lot of these lower pair textures, but 57 is not going to be high enough, so we're just going to call it. 3-betting this above around 1/3 of the time here, so above a 66 for me. Here when he checks twice on the double flush shot board. In general, we're going to want to bet this card a lot. Could do either sides here. I don't like sizing down. This hand's probably good enough to overbet. Oh my god, I timed out because the game broke. Bad flop anyway. 76, fish behind, pretty uncapped, super deep. I don't mind it. Could cooler him. And here we're just going to check and probably lose. Could do block as well. Honestly, thinking about what the checking range actually looks like, I'm getting with the block. I think in reality they're going to have a lot more of these like types of pairs. As opposed to ace-high flush draws. Okay, he's just, I don't know what they're doing. Okay. I guess he just thinks I'm like the bluffiest player of all time, so he's just deciding to check back a hand that should never check. I mean, cool. You do make some money when you cooler me, but I don't know what we're doing there. I mean, that was probably like for how tragic this flop is gonna be. If it's B33 flop, huge overbet, and then on the river I have to evaluate. I mean, pretty much save money for sure. I don't know. I just don't think what I'm trying to say is I don't think I'm deviating enough to justify like checking back a hand like this. I don't know. It's just there's too many, like, it's just too good of a hand. Like there's so much EV gained by betting when you have a strong hand. A lot of people are just slow playing ace king nowadays. I don't know what's going on. Playing it like it's the worst hand of all time. Or like defending your checking range with it. Like I don't know. Like I would have to be wailing off so hard. They must think I'm wailing. I don't know. Good to note. The thing is, one thing about these people is when they start slow playing hands by checking back, they're actually weakening their betting range and stuff. But it's also like it makes it really easy for you to not bluff them anymore because bluffing is just going to become less profitable in a way. So then you can say like, oh, like. And mainly the thing I will say I think it affects the most is your sizing. In the sense when you know your opponent has a lot more stronger hands in their range, you're going to become naturally more polar. You're going to stop going thinner for value because there's no point. And you're still going to have bluffs, but what you're going to do is you're going to be more aggressive for value. So let's say here, I had king jack, right? Well, now if I know they're checking back ace king at a high frequency, I'm not going to go for value with a hand like king jack. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick to just like 2 pair plus, and I'm going to change my sizing. I'm going to still have bluffs because, yeah, but I'm going to make them more indifferent with a hand like ace king. So and at the end of the day, it's not going to really make more money from checking. Yeah. 36 minutes in the recording. I think I'm going to wrap it up here and open some more tables. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.